Hey guys, last year I put LTE tires on my Silverado 1500. Let's talk about it after a year. Hi, my name is Jeremiah Hughes and you're watching Germ's Garage. And we're going to talk about Silva, the mighty Silverado today. I'm out doing some chores. Here's my old lawnmower. And I'm burning a old desk, just a cheapie, wasn't worth much. So while I was waiting for this to burn down, I thought I'd talk about my LTE tires that I put on Silva last year. Silva's the name that I gave my Silverado 2022 with a 2.7 liter, and I did it for one very specific purpose, and that was towing this large trailer that you see behind me. There's a lot of compromises and things that you have to deal with whenever you make this kind of a change on a half-ton pickup truck, and I just want to talk about it. The tire I chose was Recon Grappler All-Terrains LT 275/60 R20. A really nice, aggressive looking tire. And as far as all-terrain tires go, they're relatively quiet. I've inadvertently ran these at 100 miles an hour. I was literally running with traffic and looked down and traffic all around me was running the same speed. So I slowed down and let the traffic pass. I like to go a little slower. The truck had Bridgestone Alenzias on it. Alenzia from the factory. And they've received a lot of negative press online. I got almost 60,000 miles out of my Bridgestones, or a little over 60,000 miles, rotating them regularly. And to be honest with you, they actually performed really well for me. They're street tires, and so there were some situations in campgrounds with gravel and loose traction, little trails and that sort of thing, where the truck would slip and slide just a little bit more with the street tires. There was a couple times where I needed to back up a little bit more, but I just couldn't, simply because of traction. So I thought if I'm ever in that situation again, it'd be really nice to have those Bridgestone Alenzias replaced with something a little more compatible with mud. And we also started towing this very large trailer, which is admittedly extremely large for a half-ton pickup truck. This is our beautiful east to west Silver Lake 29K2S, fully loaded. She's about 9,000 pounds. So I wanted to hedge my bets just a little bit, and I basically ordered the LT tires so that they'd have a little bit stiffer sidewall. And I got them installed before a really long trip that me and my wife took last year. It wasn't too long, about 1,200 miles round trip. And I gotta say, as far as a towing tire is concerned, they're really nice. They're definitely stiffer, and they do help control the big trailer. This trip was an amazing trip. We were able to stop over about halfway down. We got to see the Daytona International Speedway. Beverly Beach Campground is beautiful. And we even got to stop at a few restaurants we'd never tried before. It was a lot of fun. I made a critical mistake, and my tires actually helped me with my tow, actually get home much safer, I believe. I like to use a standard weight distribution hitch with friction sway controls. And I like that so that I can remove the sway controls and fine tune the chain bracket on the weight distribution hitch. But that adds a little bit of complexity, and I made a mistake. Don't think I've talked about it on this channel, partially because I was embarrassed, but partially because of my pride. I guess those two kind of go hand in hand, don't they? The mistake that I made was we decided to leave from our beach camp trip. We're about 600 miles away from home. We decided to leave early that morning, way before dawn. The campground was very full, and if you know much about these friction sway controls, you know that they're awfully loud, making me kind of groany and cranky. And so the night before we pulled out, I hitched up and I put my sway bars, sway controls on my truck and on my trailer. And the next morning I pulled out and I stopped at the trash receptacle so that I could dump my trash. I got out of the truck and I dumped my trash. I didn't want to turn my sway controls on before that because I didn't want to wake the neighborhood up. And in my somewhat still sleepy state, I just drove off and proceeded to have a 600-mile tow home without any sway control active. Told my wife, thought something might be wrong with the truck. Never considered, and I made the mistake of not stopping and checking my equipment. I just put my head down and I towed home. Was it comfortable? No, but it was completely controllable. And it was completely a well-managed rig. So I towed home 600 miles with a weight distribution hitch and no sway controls. And I think that I was able to do that because of these LT tires. I think if I would have had those Bridgestone Alenzias still on here, that I would not have felt like I was in control. So the lesson learned in that is having these tires give me a little bit of margin for error that I really don't have a lot of with the half-ton truck. At 9,000 pounds, I know I'm at the top of my tow rating and I'm at the top of the truck's capabilities. So I try to respect that and not ask the truck to drive insanely fast or tow insanely fast. Try to keep everything calm and controlled. But that was a year ago. Silva's not been drove but about 15,000 miles since. It's one reason that the videos about the truck have slowed down a little bit. We've not been able to camp as much this year as we like. But after 15,000 miles, the tread's looking great. There are some pretty big cons living with these tires day to day. You are going to see a miles per gallon decrease. There's just no way around it. When you put a heavier tire, and I mean by the scale heavier and by the construction heavier, when you add that rotating mass and weight, which I guess is the same thing, right? When you add that to your truck, you will see a decrease in miles per gallon. Currently, I think I'm averaging around 18 mixed driving. On a long trip, I can hit 21, 22, maybe 23. Where with the street tires, I was able to hit consistently 25 plus. So I've lost a few miles per gallon. Another con with having the heavier tires on the truck, let's just turn around and take a look at it. It's a really pretty truck. It's a nice looking truck. I really enjoy it. But another con to think about is, and this is mostly switching to an all-terrain tire. Whenever you switch to an all-terrain tire, you will increase the road noise or the tire noise that you hear. That's just something to keep in mind. Some people really like the sound that off-road tires or all-terrain tires make. I tend to agree with that. I like the way they sound. You might not. So just keep that in mind before you make the jump to all-terrain tires. But my tires are great tow tires. They're really comfortable. So here's the question. Should you make the jump? Actually, there's another con. When you change from the factory tire that's on the sticker, say you go up a load range or two, you have to pay attention to the tire and loading index of that tire. And so most manufacturers will have a chart for those tires and what PSI they should be running at a particular load. So what I do is I find that chart. So I weigh my truck empty and I weigh my truck loaded. That means with the camper attached and people in it. I like to get a good weight and know what I'm actually putting on my back end. There goes my son on a Triumph motorcycle. Lord, please protect him and all the gear that's on him, and safe riding practices. And what you want to do is you want to identify how much your axle can weigh maxed out. So my rear axle tends to weigh around 3,800 pounds. And so what I do is I reference the chart. And even though I have LTEs that can handle almost, 3,500 pounds each, I try to find out what the PSI rating is to carry about 2,000. That tends to be about 40 PSI for my truck, between 38 and 40 PSI. The tires on the truck, those LTEs can take like 65 or 80 PSI. That leads to an overinflation situation, and that can lead to a loss of traction. So highly recommend not doing that if you're going to run these tires on a half ton. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. Editing germ here to wrap us up. I realized I didn't actually film an outro for that, so thanks for watching. If you guys made it all the way to the end of the video, give me a little emoji with a cowboy hat. I very much appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you got any use out of this. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have an awesome day.